Hello, everybody. We've got another former member of the Rockford IceHogs joining us here today. It's Nathan Lutz, a key component of Rockford's Colonial Cup championship back in the 2006-2007 season. Nathan, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Hey, thanks a lot, Bob.
So I wanted to start out by chatting with you a little bit. I know a little bit later on during these segments we'll have a chance to talk with the coach of the team, Steve Martinson. And I know from working with him, even in some other teams in the past, that the ability to get players opportunities to move up to higher level leagues was certainly important for him. And you're one of those guys that had a chance to play up in the American Hockey League throughout the course of that 06-07 season. How important was that to you in terms of being here in Rockford, getting that chance to move up and show what you could do at the next level?
Yeah, absolutely. Rockford in my first couple of years was a reason why I went there is because, Milwaukee was close and Chicago was close. And there was an opportunity at the next level, which everybody really wanted to do. But, the more time I spent in Rockford, played parts of three teams, a lot of guys came there for, the opportunity to go to a higher level. But I know the guys just for sure that we played for 10 years ago that won the Cup were happy to be there. And it was a really special time for all of us.
So I know even for you, it's sort of an interesting situation too, because you were still fairly early, really, in your professional career. I think it was only your fifth season. One of that may have even been a partial season coming out of college, leading up to that. But with the team being so young, I'm sure at that point you were looked at as an older guy on the team. What was it like to sort of be filling into his shoes as sort of the experienced veteran at that point?
Well, it was a big role for myself. And but one thing that helped me was in those first few years, I did have really good leaders and older guys that kind of showed me the way and how to try and help everybody else, but also how to be a better player myself. And it was just a big role for me, and I really loved that role.
And something else that I think was interesting about your path to eventually collecting a title with the Rockford IceHogs is that the United Hockey League, certainly a lot like how many minor leagues are right now, including the AHL, is that you don't necessarily get a whole lot of players who end up staying on the same team for a long period of time. And you had actually been there before Steve Martinson took over with the team. How did you see the overall team start to transform a little bit after Steve Martinson took over and brought some of that championship experience with him here to Rockford?
Well, he just brought so much, like you say, championship experience, and he knew a lot of guys that had played before and brought guys that he knew that could win and that could help his team. But he was just phenomenal at bringing together a great team that we did have. And we had so many players that did play in the American League over those couple of years and get their chance. But the team we had was just an awesome team of guys, and it was an awesome season to remember.
And I think it's so interesting too. You look at the rosters that Steve Martinson had, whether here in Rockford, whether out in San Diego. I mean, you follow him around in Allen right now in the ECHL. He always seems to have a team that's got a bunch of guys that score 20 goals and a bunch of guys that have 100 to 150, maybe even more penalty minutes over the course of a season. What does that maybe do for the mentality of the team to know that you can play the game in so many different ways and still be successful?
Well, I think that's one thing hockey needs a little more now is, those players that play for him that are his top players, there's respect for those guys and they don't get touched. There's going to be some repercussions for it. And it helps the skilled players play better. And Martinson's teams are always team tough. You're going to be in, for a good battle with them. And that's something that we had as well. But also those tougher guys can play. He can find guys, all the tough guys we had were, 15, 20 goal scorers as well as being enforcer on the ice. And that was one thing that Marty did too, was he let you know what your role was going to be. And if you wanted to buy into it, great. And if you didn't, it's a business, and he found the guys that wanted to make that commitment. So on that team especially, everybody knew their role, everybody accepted it, and that's what made us such a great team that year.
And it's interesting to look at the evolution of the team as well. And in retrospect now, I'm sure probably a lot less painful than it was at the time. But you managed to get to the league semifinals in both 2004, 2005, and then again the next season, 05, 06, before winning in 06, 07. And I was talking with Mike Peck, of course, who was broadcasting the games at the time, and he very much remembers uh, the games against Fort Wayne in 04-05 that went to a game 7 in the semifinals. You had a chance to win the game in overtime and rang a shot off the post. And of course, as we see it happens in hockey all the time, Fort Wayne comes right back down and scores in overtime to eventually advance to the final round. How much of a learning experience was that for you, for the team as a whole, to get that close a couple years before, and then to eventually use that experience to win that big game 7 in the championship right here in Rockford?
Yeah, that was a huge series because I think we were even up 3-1 against Fort Wayne, and they came back to beat us in 7 in overtime. And I just remember how we were up in the series and we kind of thought, well, we have this one kind of mentality. And, that's where you got to learn a very hard lesson there with not going to the championship because we kind of let our foot off the gas a little bit. So, that was a huge learning experience for all of us, the guys that came back again, because that was a real painful loss. But like you say, it helped in the seasons to come.
And I think it must have been especially important because of the way the series went in 06, 07 against Kalamazoo, where there were just so many lopsided scores on both ends of the ice, and the home team ended up winning every game. But you'd see a 6-1 game one night with the IceHogs winning, and then you travel out to Kalamazoo, and it's a 6-2 or 6-3 win for Kalamazoo the next night. How hard was it to sort of ride the momentum over the course of that season, winning big some nights, and then seeing the Kalamazoo Wings do the same thing against you guys right after that?
Well, I think our team through the season, we didn't lose, 2 games in a row very often. And, we just came back. We knew what we had to do, but home ice advantage was such a big thing, especially with matching lines, both ways. When we were at home, we got to match against our top line and shut them down, and the same in Kalamazoo. So home ice advantage was huge, and that's what we worked for all season, was for that top spot so we could have home ice advantage in the playoffs, and it came down to a game 7. So we, like I say, the team we had was very focused and everybody knew their job. And it was, when we come to the rink in playoffs, especially that last series, everyone just had the same routine and same mentality. And we knew if we went to work and played as good as we could, that we would win. So, it was a season long thing that we did.
And I think it's been obviously 10 years since that has gone on, and since you were able to help capture that big championship here for the city of Rockford, for the organization as a whole. Do you still remember at this point what your mindset was going into that 7th game here at the BMO, and maybe if you were nervous at all going into that game?
Well, you saying that right now gives me goosebumps. I can remember the whole day how it was because I wanted it so bad, and I had pictured that last game in my mind so much, and so did the other guys. I remember, I was the captain, and guys were looking to me, and I tried to go to the rink and do the same thing as I always had, but tried to keep it loose. I remember after we won, Kevin Ulansky said he remembered looking at me in the dressing room just to see how I was reacting, and I tried to keep it loose and I tried to keep it, but focused. So, but I just remember coming out for the first period underneath the tunnel, and the crowd was so loud and the place was just shaking, and it always reminds me of that scene in Gladiator before they go out on the ice. Like it was that intense of a moment, and I will never forget that.
And it's interesting that you bring that up, because the very next thing I wanted to ask you was what the most memorable part of that game 7 was, and so it sounds like it was maybe even before the puck dropped.
Yeah, I just remember because we always stood underneath and waited to come out of the hog head there, and the crowd was just roaring. And I remember looking around at all the guys and their faces. It was, you know, it was a special memory that I don't think can be duplicated.
And it was a tight game. It's 1-1 third period. Eventually it gets broken up into a 2-1 game in favor of the IceHogs, and then the one that eventually seals the deal, Nicholas Corbet ends up scoring late there in period number 3 to put the team up by a 3-1 score, and was sort of the insurance goal that I'm sure made everybody take a little bit of a deep breath. Do you remember that goal specifically at all at this point, even here 10 years down the road?
Yeah, for sure. I was on the ice and they were coming down the left side and tried to get the puck in, and I kind of got to the puck first and shipped it out, and I think Chaz Johnson chipped it to Corbet, and he went in and made a quick shot, and the next thing Corbet went right to the bench, and we knew we had it at that goal. Before that, it was so tight, but that goal, that was it. So I remember that plain as day.
Yeah, and it gives the whole team, I think, probably a little bit of a chance to sort of enjoy the last minute or so in front of the hometown crowd there. And then eventually, of course, you take the trophy and get to do all the fun celebration that goes along with that, and make a lot of great memories. I know for a lot of people here in the Rockford area that certainly still identify with that game and remember that game and what the team did. Of course, for you, it wasn't the end of the career. I know the IceHogs eventually moved up into the American Hockey League over the course of that summer. And down the line for you had a chance to do something pretty cool with your career. You went overseas. You played in both Denmark and Italy. What was your experience like playing hockey outside of North America?
It was a great experience. That championship in Rockford really helped me after that year, because they went to the American League. Obviously, everyone knows that, and so I was going somewhere. So that was a great thing for my resume, and to go overseas and be able to play that kind of hockey and just experience different things and see the world a little bit was just an amazing experience. And I just feel blessed to be able to have played for so long and met so many good people, and the chance to win championships as well.
And I know you've certainly turned yourself into a family man as well. Can you update some of the fans here in Rockford, many of whom I know still remember you, of what you got going on these days?
Well, married to my amazing wife, Kayla. We've been married for 6 years, and I got a little girl named Abby and a little boy named Brooks, and we're living back on the farm in the state of Saskatchewan, and around family and friends, and just feel really blessed with everything I have right now.
Well, Nathan, certainly do appreciate you jumping on with us here. It's so much fun to check in with some of the people that were key components into making everything happen there with that championship. And I know we got a chance to work together a few years together, and certainly one of the good guys around hockey. So thank you so much for jumping on with us here.
Well, I really appreciate it, Bob. I just want to say that, winning that championship there in Rockford was the pinnacle of my hockey career, and just that feeling to be able to share that with everybody that was there and everyone that supported us, the fans and the management and everyone that was involved. It's something that I will remember forever, and it's awesome to get to share it with a bunch of people as well.
It's the captain of the Rockford IceHogs from the 2006-07 Colonial Cup championship team, Nathan Lutz. Make sure to stay in touch with icehogs.com all summer long.